Some people don't stab you in the back. They slowly drain your soul with a smile. Psychology calls them dangerous, and you've probably let them in. There are people who walk into your life like sunshine, warm, energizing, and calming all at once. And then there are others, those who, even without doing anything obvious, leave you feeling anxious, tired, or like something inside you is slowly eroding. You've probably met both types. The tricky part is knowing which ones to avoid before the damage is done. Psychology has spent decades analyzing human behavior, what draws us in, what pushes us away, and why we sometimes get stuck in unhealthy cycles with the wrong people. And when it comes to your mental health and emotional peace, there are three distinct types of people who often do more harm than good. The worst part? They don't always come off as dangerous. Sometimes they're charming, sometimes they seem like they care. But dig a little deeper, and you'll see the patterns. So let's talk about the three types of people psychology says you should avoid, and how to recognize them before it's too late. Let's start with the first one. 1. The chronic victim. At first, you might not even notice this person's patterns. They're the ones who always seem to be going through something. A breakup, a toxic workplace, family drama, emotional burnout. You listen, you support, you empathize, but over time, something feels off. Because no matter what happens, they're always the victim. Always. You see, psychology calls this the victim mentality. It's a cognitive distortion where someone constantly sees themselves as powerless, even when they're not. Everything bad that happens to them, someone else's fault. Every opportunity they miss, someone else is doing. And they cling to this worldview not because they're evil, but because it gives them identity, safety, and even attention. But here's where the real damage starts. When you spend time around someone like this, their helplessness becomes contagious. You start feeling responsible for fixing their life. You shrink your own needs to avoid triggering their insecurities. And worst of all, you start second-guessing your own emotions, because somehow their pain always takes center stage. Take Marcus, for example. Marcus was always the friend everyone checked on. His texts were full of heavy updates. My boss yelled at me again. My girlfriend doesn't understand me. I'm just tired of life. People sympathized, but they started noticing something strange. No matter how much advice he was given, he never acted on it. Instead, he complained. Constantly. If someone tried to set boundaries, he'd guilt-trip them. If someone offered solutions, he'd reject them. One day, Marcus's closest friend, Jay, was going through a rough time. He had just lost his father. When Jay reached out to Marcus for support, Marcus responded with, "You think that's bad? At least your dad loved you. Mine never cared." And that was the moment Jay realized something important. To a chronic victim, your pain is competition. This isn't about ignoring people in need. It's about recognizing when someone uses pain as a tool for attention, manipulation, or validation. Because being there for someone is good, but sacrificing your peace for someone who refuses to grow, that's not noble, that's dangerous. So how do you spot them early on? They rarely take accountability. Every story they tell involves a villain, but never themselves. They thrive in chaos, but resist solutions. And if you ever try to pull away or protect your peace, they'll guilt-trip you like it's your job to fix them. The truth is, healing is hard, but people who truly want to grow will take steps, however small, toward change. Chronic victims, they stay stuck, and they'll pull you down to keep you there. Next up, 2. The subtle manipulator. Not all manipulation is obvious. Some of the most dangerous people you'll meet don't yell, lie, or control you directly. Instead, they operate in the shadows, twisting facts, gaslighting emotions, and slowly turning your mind against itself. This person doesn't just control what you do, they influence what you think about yourself. Psychologists refer to this as covert manipulation. It's quiet, strategic, and often invisible until it's already done damage. Let's talk about Emma. Emma was smart, driven, and outgoing. In her second year of college, she met Ryan. He was charming, articulate, and funny. Everyone liked him. He always said the right things. In the beginning, he showered her with compliments. "You're too good for me," he'd say. "I'm so lucky I found someone like you." But slowly, the compliments started feeling strange. "You're the only one who understands me. No one else gets me like you do. If you ever left, I don't know what I'd do." At first, it sounded romantic, but underneath, there was a message. Don't leave. Don't grow. Don't change. Then came the little digs. "You used to be more fun before you started spending time with your new friends. That outfit's a bit much, don't you think? I just want what's best for you. I'm only being honest." Emma started changing. She dressed more modestly. She stopped going out as much. She second-guessed her achievements. Whenever she stood up for herself, Ryan made her feel guilty for overreacting. This is emotional manipulation. It thrives on doubt. The manipulator slowly reshapes your identity, not by force, but by erosion. You don't even realize it's happening. You just wake up one day wondering why you feel smaller, quieter, and more afraid. Psychologists explain this through something called gaslighting. It's when someone makes you question your own reality. You remember them hurting you, but they insist you misunderstood. You feel uneasy, but they say you're just too sensitive. The result? You lose trust in your own mind. People like this don't always look like villains. They often seem thoughtful, composed, even well-meaning. But their words cut, their logic twists, and their love has terms and conditions. So how can you spot a subtle manipulator? They often disguise criticism as concern. They use guilt to get their way. They make you feel like everything's your fault, and they never seem to take the blame for anything. If you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells around someone, that's your nervous system telling you something's wrong. Real love doesn't confuse you. Real friendship doesn't make you question your worth. And real connections don't require shrinking yourself to stay in them. If you feel drained, confused, or like you've lost parts of yourself around someone, it's not in your head. It's in their control. And finally, 3. The Envious Underminer. This one is especially painful because it often comes from someone you thought was on your side. The envious underminer is the person who claps when you win, but secretly hopes you fall. They're not always loud about it. Sometimes they're incredibly subtle. But behind the surface, there's resentment, bitterness, jealousy, and the need to dim your light so theirs doesn't look so dull. Jealousy is normal. Everyone feels it. But when it becomes chronic envy, it can turn toxic. Psychology links this to deep-rooted insecurity. These individuals don't just want success, they want your success. And if they can't have it, they'll find ways to sabotage, minimize, or mock it. Let's look at Malik's story. Malik had always been close with his cousin, Aaron. They grew up together, studied together, and even started a small business together. Malik was more outgoing, so he often attracted more attention. When the business started gaining traction, people started noticing Malik more. Clients praised his ideas. Investors called him the face of the brand. That's when the shift started. Aaron became colder, not hostile, but distant. He'd make sarcastic comments like, "Well, not all of us were born charming." When Malik shared new ideas, Aaron would say, "It's a bit much, don't you think? People are getting tired of your voice." At first, Malik brushed it off, but then he noticed Aaron was excluding him from important meetings. When Malik confronted him, Aaron said, "You think everything's about you. Maybe take a step back for once." Eventually, Malik realized something hard. Aaron didn't hate him. He just couldn't celebrate him. This is the poison of envy. It hides in compliments laced with bitterness, in jokes that sting, in support that feels conditional. The envious underminer is dangerous because they're often close. They know your dreams, your weaknesses, your secrets. And instead of lifting you, they weaponize that knowledge when their own self-worth feels threatened. Psychologists say this behavior stems from a scarcity mindset, the belief that someone else's success means less for them. So instead of being inspired, they get defensive. Instead of cheering you on, they try to pull you back. How do you spot this person? Watch for patterns. Do they only cheer you on when you're struggling, but go quiet when you succeed? Do their compliments feel hollow? Do they bring up your past mistakes when you're trying to move forward? These are not coincidences. They're cracks in the foundation. The healthiest people in your life will not only want to see you win, they'll help you get there. Anyone who dims your spark, even subtly, is not in your corner. Now here's the truth no one wants to hear. Sometimes these three types of people are not strangers. They're friends, family, partners, even mentors. And walking away or setting boundaries can feel brutal. But here's what you have to remember. Protecting your peace is not selfish, it's survival. Psychology teaches us that your environment shapes your mind. The people you surround yourself with don't just influence your mood, they shape your beliefs, your self-worth, your future. You deserve to be around people who inspire growth, not fear. People who challenge you, but also celebrate you. People who hold space for your emotions, but also push you toward healing. Life is hard enough without carrying the weight of people who are constantly pulling you down. So pay attention to your energy after you leave someone's presence. Do you feel lighter, brighter, seen? Or do you feel drained, small, confused? Your body already knows what your mind is trying to understand. Avoid the chronic victim, the subtle manipulator, the envious underminer. Not because they're evil, but because your peace is worth protecting. You owe it to yourself to choose people who see your light and never try to dim it. Because here's the quiet truth most people forget. The people around you are either pouring water on your fire or adding fuel to it. Choose wisely. If you're into psychology and understanding how the mind works, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more.